Part 28. My evil Imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 271. The news spread that the two groups of Lumwian did not step out of the inn after they returned to the central city. Many people who made their ideas were extremely disappointed, and some even regretted that they should have gathered earlier to attack them. In the past 2 days, whether it is the people who have gathered enough jade cards to enter the top 500 in the standings, or those who are facing elimination, they have poured into the central city. They have only one goal, to participate in the most solemn and valuable auction in the competition space. Many swordsmen even came with a family mission in their hands, just for a few finale auction items. Lumwian has spent the past 2 days refining medicinal pills. Although she has scraped the spirit stones of Jixian, Yanjun, and the second prince, she cannot guarantee that she will win all the items she needs at the auction. So you still have to do some preparation. 2 days later, 1 hour before the auction started, Lumwian called out his teammates in the inn. Wian, it's still too early for the auction. Shall we go now? Yekinghan always felt that there must be something wrong with Lumwian asking them to come out earlier. Lumwian smiled and asked several people, do you want to earn spirit stones? Of course, but how to make money? Fu Chen looked at Lumwian with interest. She should have a good idea when she asks such a question. Others also set their sights on her. They basically don't have spirit stones on them, but they heard that such large-scale high-level trade fairs are auctioned with spirit stones. They were only going to join in the fun and have a look, but now hearing Lumwian's question, they couldn't help but ignite a glimmer of hope. If you can take pictures of what you want, you don't want to earn spirit stones. Besides, the top 10 places in the semi-finals are rewarded, the position change of the top 500 has little effect, Lumwian asked instead of answering. Yekinghan replied, it doesn't matter, it's just for the change in the next few days, as long as the ranking is within 400, you can definitely enter the finals. The ranking in the preliminary round and the semi-finals only determines whether you can advance, and it does not matter much to the following competitions. Connect. That's good, Lumwian said with a smile, let's auction the identity jade in our hands. What? Auction identity jade? Fu Chen asked in surprise. Lumwian nodded, my ranking is second, so I can sell some jade cards. It doesn't matter if my ranking is 9th or 10th, as long as I can get the reward items. In the rematch, as long as the top 10 sword masters can choose 3 of the 10 spirits given by the organizer, regardless of their ranking, this also gives her a loophole. Yekinghan's eyes lit up and smiled, yes. We are currently ranked in the top 100, and we will take out some jade tokens to auction. As long as we keep the top 400 positions, we can also exchange for a large number of spirit stones to participate in the auction. We'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. There is no substantial difference between the 50th ranking and the 500th ranking in the semi-finals, and they both mean the advanced finals. Muyan's method is great, Fu Chen couldn't help but praise. Why couldn't they come up with such a method to get the spirit stone? Muyi thought about it for a while and asked with a smile, will anyone want to auction the jade card? Of course someone will ask for it, and the price of the red jade card may be doubled at the auction, Lumwian said firmly. In fact, the red jade metal is the least compared to other jade metals. There must be many people who are inferior to the jade metal of this color. In addition, the red jade metal has the fewest points. They will definitely earn the auction of the red jade metal. We have a lot of red jade tokens in our hands. I believe there are still many sword masters who haven't collected the 7-color jade tokens. If we take out the jade tokens for auction, these people will definitely come and buy them. Yekinghan's eyes flashed. Bright colors. Although he comes from a family in a big country, the eastern region is the weakest of the 4 regions. The spirit stones of the family are all traded by spirit pets. They don't have mineral veins like other big country families. Not many stones. Ling Fei Yang asked with a smile, then where are we going to auction the jade plaque now? Should we take it directly to the auction for consignment? Lum Wan thought for a while and said, let's go to the auction first to ask. I don't think any other sword masters have ever auctioned such a jade card, and I don't know if they will accept it. Okay, hope arose in everyone's heart, and they followed Lum Wan to the main hall where the largest auction in the central city is located. The news that they left the inn early was also passed to the ears of the elite teams from various countries. Brother, why did Lum Wan and the others go to the auction hall so early? Luo Li ran to Luo Ye as soon as he heard the report. Si Nan and Helian Li were also in this inn, so they got together to talk, and when he heard his words, Si Nan stood up with a hint of interest in his eyes and said, let's go and have a look, we'll know. Okay, let's go. At the same time, Yan Jun, Ji Xian, and others also received news that they did not know Lum Wan deeply, but they knew her temperament, so they left the inn and went to the auction hall to find out. This is also the case in many places in the city. When Lum Wan and his party arrived at the auction hall, there were also many sword masters waiting to send the auction items, and the waiter immediately greeted them with a smile. A few young masters and young ladies, please, are you also here to send and photograph items? Lum Wan smiled and asked, where are you in charge? The waiter paused for a while, his expression unchanged, and replied with a smile, the steward is dealing with things now. If you want to auction things, you can hand them over to me. If you want to judge the value of the items, you can go to the appraiser first. How could the steward be so busy to receive these participating swordsmen one by one? He, as a waiter, has no power to arrange. Lum Wan also knew that he was in a dilemma, and handed over a silver token from the space ring. This is the order of the Underworld Alliance of your Chamber of Commerce. You hand it over to the steward, I believe he will come to see me. When the waiter saw the silver token, he immediately took it carefully and said respectfully, Miss, please wait a moment, I'll go to the steward right away. This is the silver level VIP card of the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce, which made the waiter tremble, and quickly ran to the second floor to call the steward. And Lum Wan's act of taking out the Silver Underworld Alliance token also shocked the people present, and even Ye Qinghan, Shi Feng and others showed surprise in the eyes. Luo Li, who had just entered the hall, also took in the scene just now, and their shock was no less than the others. These elite disciples of the superpowers do not have the VIP token of the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce. How did Lum Wan get recognized by the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce? No one doubts that Lum Wan's token is fake or obtained from other places. After all, every token of the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce has identity verification, and other people can't take it out. Lum Wan, you actually have the silver VIP badge of the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce. Luo Li came over and looked at her in surprise. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 272. Lum Wan, you actually have a silver VIP token from the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce. Lum Wan turned around and saw Luo Lejun with a bright smile on his face, as if the sun in winter could shine into people's hearts. Is there anything special about the silver VIP order? She actually didn't know anything about the Underworld order. Luo Li smiled and said, the Underworld Alliance Chamber of Commerce has 3 types of Underworld Alliance tokens, bronze, silver, and gold. The bronze-colored tokens are VIP orders, the silver tokens are high-level VIP orders, and the golden tokens are top-level VIP orders. A sword master with a silver VIP token takes pictures or buys items in the store under the Underworld Alliance Chamber of Commerce. Not only can they get 5% cheaper of the total value, but when their cultivation reaches a certain level, they can also be invited to the Secret Realm by the Underworld Alliance Chamber of Commerce. Secret Realm invitation, Lum Wan asked with raised eyebrows. There are countless mysterious and secret places in the Tianling continent. Not everyone can enter. it requires certain means and strength to open it. In addition to the 6 major sects with such strength, only a few top forces in the mainland can do it. Arrive. Luoli paused and said, although the secret realm is accompanied by danger, the harvest is definitely worth taking the risk. However, such an opportunity is not available to everyone. I heard that the silver VIP order issued by the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce will not exceed 200 pieces. That's why you almost blinded our eyes with the silver VIP order in your hand. Sinan leaned over and smiled slyly. Lum Wan rolled his eyes at him. It doesn't matter if you don't want those eyes. Her face did not change, but she was thinking in her heart. After thinking about it, she felt that it was impossible for Ye Lao to give her a token of this level. The silver VIP token in her hand must have been given to Ye Lao by Ming Xiu's servant. Sinan was stunned for a moment, then looked aggrieved, and Phoenix's eyes blinked. If I'm blind, how can I appreciate beauty, especially a little beauty like you? Shameless and skinless. Lum Wan gave him another look at him amusingly. Before Sinan could answer, he saw a shrewd-looking middle-aged man coming down from the second floor, led by the waiter, to Lum Wan. Miss Lu, don't take offense if you are neglected, let's talk upstairs. The steward's attitude was very sincere. The silver VIP order has everyone's identity and breath verification, so the Pluto Chamber of Commerce can use special means to identify the identity of the person who bears the order. Then it's troublesome. Lum Wan smiled politely. Seeing the curiosity in Luoli and others' eyes, she said to them, if you want to listen, just follow. The fact that she was going to auction the identity jade card was about to become public, and it would be good to have Luoli and Sinan as free labor as a deterrent. When the two heard it, their eyes lit up, and they followed Lum Wan to the second floor. The steward took them to a private room on the second floor, sat down and ordered tea. I don't know what Miss Lu needs us to do, the steward asked with a smile. Lum Wan enjoys a lot of privileges with the silver VIP token. As long as the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce can do it, the requirements must be met under normal circumstances. Lum Wan took a sip of tea and said lightly, I want to borrow the venue to hold a small auction before your auction starts. It only takes an hour. After hearing her words, everyone looked at her in a daze. Fu Chen and the others were puzzled. Didn't they agree to ask people from the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce to help with the auction? However, Lum Wan's shrewdness is not comparable to them, so they will support everything she does. I don't know what Miss Lu wants to auction. If there is any spiritual item to be auctioned, it can be auctioned by our Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce. You are a high-level VIP, and we will only charge half of the intermediate fee. The steward was very curious about Lum Yu. What is the idea of cigarettes? Lum Wan's name has long been spread all over the city of the competition space, and they have also heard a lot about her, and with the silver token, he will be so polite to her. I want to auction the identity jade card needed in the rematch. Lum Wan replied bluntly. Sinan couldn't help but spit out a sip of tea. Auction identity jade? You really can think of it? The corners of Helian Lee's mouth couldn't help twitching. This woman must be crazy about money. Could it be that blackmailing the second prince gave her the inspiration to continue blackmailing others? The steward was stunned for a moment, then said amusingly, Miss Lu, are you sure you want to auction the jade badge? This is something you use to participate in the competition. Sure. Lum Wan nodded. There is no requirement in the rules of the competition space that the jade cards obtained must be robbed, right? There is no prohibition on buying and selling, so I will not violate the rules of the competition if I sell them. She bluntly expressed her thoughts, and it is better to put such a thing on the bright side. Others have a black line. Is it really okay for you to take advantage of this and be known by the organizer? That's true. After all, the steward is an elite of the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce, and he has no shortage of business acumen. At this time, he is also a little excited, but Lum Wan dares to do such a business, but their Chamber of Commerce is not easy to make this kind of money. Don't worry, I'll pay for the 1-hour rented venue. Seeing the steward, she added hesitantly. If you don't help the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce to auction, there will still be a large amount of intermediate fee left, and Luo Li and others took the initiative to join in as coolies. She doesn't need to be a fool, so she changed her original intention. There is no need for the venue fee. You are our silver token senior VIP. I can still give this convenience, the steward replied with a smile without hesitation. Lum Wan's holding the silver token is definitely not simple, there is even a secret, but he does not dare to explore it. As far as he knows, even the sword masters in the entire Tianling continent may not be able to get a bronze token, let alone a special silver token. Since Lum Wan has this ability, he naturally won't miss the chance to make good friends for petty profits. No matter whether it is useful or not, there is nothing wrong with showing goodwill. Lum Wan knew his thoughts and did not reject his kindness. Then I would like to thank the steward. I don't know your surname. It's down the river. The smile on the steward's face was more sincere. Lum Wan's ability to get the silver token must have something to do with some or a certain high-level executive of the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce. If she says a few good things about him, he will hopefully be transferred back to the headquarters. There is Steward Lao Zhang who has arranged for us now, Lum Wan said with a smile. Manager Zhang nodded and ordered a few words to the waiter, and then personally took Lum Wan and others to an auction venue in the lobby on the first floor. Luo Li, Si Nan, Helian Li, it's time for you to play a role. Lum Wan frowned and looked at the three with a smile. There was a smile in Luo Li's eyes, and he was very happy to be able to help Lum Wan. Just tell me. Si Nan and Helian Li glanced at each other, scolding Luo Li in their hearts. It's okay to help, but there is a condition. Si Nan leaned over and smiled affectionately. Lum Wan raised her eyebrows and asked, tell me. This fox, Si Nan, is not a simple kitten like Luo Li. As Lum Wan expected, Si Nan's next sentence was, we also have the remaining identity jade cards in our hands. How about auctioning them together with the light of the little beauty? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 273. Helian Li was also moved by the conditions proposed by Si Nan. Lum Wan must have figured out a way out if he dared to do so. Lum Wan looked at the two of Si Nan with a half smile, and said slowly, okay, we will sell you when our auction is over, but I will take 10% of your auction fee as the venue fee and commission. Si Nan twitched the corners of his mouth. Didn't Steward Zhang charge no venue fees? That's what I got with the Silver Underworld Alliance token. If you're not convinced, you can go to another venue for the auction. Lum Wan rolled his eyes at him. Whether you like to sell it or not, there are many people who want to help, and there is no shortage of you. I'll do it. Helian Li decisively chose to make a deal. It's a point to make a profit. Anyway, taking 10% is not too high. Si Nan finally saw the speed with which this woman turned her face. Okay, let's get it done. It wasn't that he couldn't bear the spirit stone, he just wanted to tease her. Then why don't you hurry up and invite guests? We only have 1 hour. Lum Wan turned around and looked at the few people fiercely, as if they were going to be beaten by her if they slowed down. Under Lum Wan's sharp gaze, Si Nan and the others ran out of the auction hall in despair and told his subordinates to hurry up and spread the news of the auction. After a while, the swordsmen in the entire central city knew that someone was holding a small auction in the auction hall of the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce, and the auction item turned out to be the identity jade card required for the semi-finals to enter the finals. After hearing this news, many swordsmen who did not enter the 500th place with points, or were already in the 500th place but did not collect the 7-color jade medals, became an instant sensation, and rushed to the competition hall to see if it was true. In the courtyard of an inn, a man in black clothes with outstanding temperament was playing a game with him. "Fourth Prince, you must be interested in some news," one of the elite team hurried in and said. Xian didn't reply immediately, and after dropping the last sunspot in his hand, he raised his head and asked, "What news?" Lum Wan and Si Nan held a small auction before the large auction of the Underworld Alliance Chamber of Commerce, and it's about to start, the man said enthusiastically. Holding a small auction? What do they want to do? Xian took out the silk and wiped his hands. Auction the identity jade card needed to enter the finals, the man replied with a smile. Xian raised his eyebrows, and after pondering, he laughed softly. She's bold. Is she provoking the authority of the organizer by doing this? Will she be punished? Asked a person sitting beside Xian. The organizer has never stipulated that the trading of identity jade cards is not allowed. She is considered a loophole, and at most she will be banned in the future, but this time she definitely made a profit. Xian himself is also a person who likes to calculate. Thinking of Lum Wan, that woman can calculate more than him. How did she come up with the idea of selling identity jade cards, which is only profitable, not losing, and no cost? Let's join in the fun. Xian stood up and went out, and the others quickly followed. They were also curious about the auction of the identity jade. At the same time, Yan Jun and Mo Ling were negotiating a deal in the private room of 11 Zalo, when they heard a knock on the door. "What's the matter?" Yan Jun put the person in and asked. "Master, Lum Wan, together with Si Nan and others, held a small auction in the hall of the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce. Shall we go and have a look?" Lum Wan cured Yan Jun's illness, and they were very grateful, so they were more concerned about her affairs. "Auction? What the hell is that woman going to do?" Yan Jun's unparalleled face showed interest. "That woman Lum Wan can really do something wherever she goes, it's interesting." Mo Ling was also very curious about what Lum Wan wanted to do this time. She wants to auction off the excess identity jade cards, so she borrowed the auction house of the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce to hold a small auction. Mo Ling said in surprise, "The venues of the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce are not rented out. How did she do it?" "I heard that she has a Phantom Alliance token in her hand, but I don't know the specifics." The person who reported it scratched his head and said. "What? Order of the Underworld?" Yan Jun was puzzled, and after drinking the spirit wine in the cup, he suggested, "Mo Ling, let's go take a look." He really wanted to see what tricks Lum Wan, a daring woman, was playing. It was the first time he heard that things like identity jade cards could also be auctioned. Okay, Mo Ling was also somewhat interested in Lum Wan. The news that Lum Wan was going to auction the identity jade badge was widely spread, and in just a moment, a lot of people gathered in the auction hall. Seeing that the time and the number of people were almost the same, Lum Wan walked up to the auction stage with a smile on her face, and she was elegant and pleasing to the eyes. "I believe you have heard the news and know what we are going to auction today." Seeing the fiery eyes of many people below, she smiled and said, "That's right, what we are auctioning now is the key to the finals, the jade card of identity." As soon as she beckoned, Si Nan and Luo Li came up with 2 plates, causing everyone below them to be startled. Lum Wan lifted the red cloth on the tray, and the 7-color identity jade cards lined up on it instantly attracted the attention of those present. "Miss Lu, how do you sell this jade card?" someone below asked impatiently. His points ranking has already rushed into the top 500, but unfortunately there is only 1 yellow jade medal missing. "I was still anxious about how to win the yellow jade medal and keep the final place. I didn't expect that it can be bought with money now. Cannot be excited. 7-color jade plagues have a base price regardless of color. The auction will start with the purple jade plaque. The base price is 10,000 spirit stones, and the person with the higher price will win." Lum Wan announced the auction price following the man's words. What? 10,000 spirit stones. I'll go, this is robbing people. This is too pitiful, 10,000 spirit stones are so expensive. As soon as her voice fell, there was a quarrel, basically disagreeing with the price. Even Yan Jun and Ji Xian, who were sitting in the last row, couldn't help but stroke their foreheads. Is this a habit of slaughtering people? They dare to shout about the reserve price of 10,000 spirit stones and an identity jade token, but why do they think that the final price of these jade tokens will definitely be unexpected? Lum Wen didn't stop it immediately, and after a while of discussion, she cast a look at Si Nan. De Sao Bao, are you still out? When Si Nan received the look in her eyes, he knew that there was nothing good, but he was forced to ask her for something and became interested in her, so he could only bite the bullet and scold her regardless of shame. What are you arguing about? Isn't the quota for the competition worth 10,000 spirit stones? Get out if you don't want to buy it. Si Nan's voice carried the coercion of Jianzong. Although he had a suave smile on his face, there was a coldness in his eyes, which made the bottom instantly quiet. He was very satisfied with the effect and continued, I believe that some people have already rushed into the top 500 of the standings, but they have not collected the 7-color jade cards. There are only the last 2 days until the finals. It would be a pity to be eliminated like this. Yeah, the person who spoke before couldn't help but said in cooperation. So the identity jade card of 10,000 spirit stones is really not expensive. If you buy 10,000 spirit stones and enter the finals, where can you find such a deal? My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 274. After listening to Si Nan's words, those who had already rushed into the top 500 but had not collected the 7-color jade medals were all moved. Lingxi can be found again, but if you miss this chance to enter the finals, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Give me one. The big man who had been vocal all the time shouted again. Lum Wan's long eyelashes concealed the look in his eyes, and smiled lightly. The first jade token is considered a good start and will not be auctioned. 10,000 spirit stones are sold to this friend. I don't know what kind of jade card you want. Then she looked at the big man and asked. The big man stared at the jade plaque on the tray excitedly. I want the yellow one. Lum Wan nodded with a smile and gave Si Nan a look. Si Nan comprehended and handed the yellow jade plaque in the tray to the big man. You have a good eye. There are not many yellow jade plagues, and you will never be able to buy them at this price in a while. The big man took out a bag of spirit stones to exchange, and said with an honest smile, as long as you can enter the finals, no matter how expensive it is, it will be worth it. That's a good sentence. Si Nan gave the big man an opinionated look. With the success of Dahan's transaction, many people on the sidelines also rioted. Lum Wan took advantage of the situation to start the auction. The purple jade plaque was auctioned first, and the red jade plaque was auctioned last. The auction atmosphere was not very active at the beginning, but the price of each jade card exceeded 10,000 spirit stones. When there were not many jade cards left, many people became impatient, and the price also flipped over and over again. Especially when the red jade card is auctioned, the situation can be said to be overwhelming. Although the red jade card represents the identity of a small country swordsman, it is also the least jade card in the semi-finals. There are very few small country swordsmen participating in the semi-finals, and there are few porrages and many people. In the end, the red jade card was fired to a minimum of 30,000 spirit stones, and the highest price was 50,000 spirit stones. Finally, the second prince, who bought a red jade token at the price of 40,000 spirit stones, was so black that it couldn't be darker. Only then did he realize that the woman before was really not too disrespectful to him, and he regretted that when Lum Wan asked him if he wanted a red jade card for 10,000 spirit stones, why did he have to refuse? Now his heart is bleeding, and he spent 30,000 more spirit stones. He really wants to give himself a few big airs. The auction of jade cards was better than expected. Lum Wan was in a good mood and asked Sinan to auction their own. After the auction, many people regretfully asked if there were still jade medals, all of which were driven by the crazy auction atmosphere just now, as if so many spiritual stones were very cost-effective. On the top floor of the auction hall were the organizers of this continental contest. The organizer of this small auction is Lum Wan, who has been restless since he entered the competition space, one of the black-clothed old men asked blankly. A middle-aged man in black behind him replied, "Report to the master, she is Lum Wan." "It's interesting." The old man in black gave a rare smile. A charming woman sat next to him with a hint of dissatisfaction in her brows. "I dare to auction the jade batch. She has eaten the courage of an ambitious leopard. I suggest that she be disqualified from the competition. She doesn't like pushy women, and Lum Wan's way of doing things obviously displeased her." An old man in a green shirt opposite her stroked her long beard and said, "Our organizer has not stipulated that the auction of identity jade cards is not allowed. If so, it would be unreasonable to disqualify her from the competition. I think this little girl dares to think and dare to do it, but I think it's not bad. Disqualification from the competition is too serious." A beautiful woman who looked a little charming had a hint of appreciation in her eyes. "She is provoking the authority of our organizer. If everyone follows suit, won't it break the rules of the game?" the woman with the same charm said with a frown. The old man in black glanced coldly at the woman, and said slowly, "This kind of competition should have broken the rules. She did a good job. This little girl's behavior is very appealing to him, and he can pay attention to it in the future." Then he instructed the middle-aged man behind him, "Send a complete copy of Lum Wan's information." "Yes, master." The old man in black stood up indifferently, ignoring anyone, and walked out the door. Others didn't dare to express dissatisfaction with his behavior. This person was not something they could afford to provoke. The woman did not mention Lum Wan from the competition list because of the words of the old man in black, but she was still very displeased with Lum Wan in her heart. In the castle in the central area, the elders of the 6 major sects also received news from the auction and the organizer immediately. "This Lum Wan is so thoughtful that she even dares to auction off her identity jade batch. I really shouldn't say that she is courageous and intelligent, or young and impulsive." The elder of the royal beast sect said with tears and laughter, "Fortunately, Mr. Mo didn't follow the advice of the sommelier in 11 Zalo to remove her from the quota, otherwise, it will be a big loss." Although they did not agree with Lum Wan's approach, they still appreciated it. Although Li Glaziun is the judge of the organizer on behalf of 11 Zalo this time, the real power of this competition is still in the hands of Mo Lao of the Refining Pavilion. Even if she is not convinced, she has to swallow it. The elder of Yaozong, obviously some didn't like the woman who opened her mouth to revoke Lum Wan's quota. The strong and sturdy elder of the 8 extreme sects snorted coldly, "An old woman who can't get married likes to point fingers. Seeing the little girl is young, beautiful, and capable, she becomes jealous." If Lum Wan was really disqualified by her words, he would definitely demolish the signboard of 11 Zalo on behalf of the 8 extreme sect. Is it not easy for him to find a good seedling that is hard to find in 100 years for the sect? The others nodded in agreement. Her hands are indeed stretched a little too long. Lum Wan was a dark horse that their 6 major sects valued. If they were really disqualified from participating in the finals by Li Glaziun, then they would not be able to vomit to death. There was a cold light in the eyes of the handsome man in white clothes sitting behind a few people. Even a small elder in Zizalo dared to be so presumptuous. Should he remove it himself or wait for the woman to slap her face? Lum Wan's small auction took just over half an hour to auction off the excess jade metals on her body, and her ranking dropped from 2nd to 8th. She happily swept the spiritual stones in the space ring with her mental power. This time, more than 400,000 spiritual stones were auctioned off just for the jade token. Ye Qinghan and the others also had smiles all over their faces. Each of them has harvested more than 100,000 spirit stones, and it seems that they can buy 1 or 2 items at this auction. Fu Chen couldn't believe it when he was holding the spirit stone. He excitedly smiled at Lu Muan and said, "Muan, follow you to eat and drink spicy food." "That's right, you don't even look at who your elder sister is," Lu Muan said arrogantly with a smile on her face. "Pfft. Whose sister are you, beauty? Why don't you call your brother to hear it first?" Nan sold a lot of spirit stones, and in a good mood, he approached Lu Muan and joked. Lu Muan raised her eyebrows and asked with a sinister smile, "What's the benefit of calling you brother? My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 275. Nan shuddered as he listened to Lu Muan's timid voice. "Haha, I'm just joking." If he really asked this woman to call him brother, he was afraid that he would lose a layer of skin. Lu Muan glanced at him and retracted his gaze. Seeing that someone in the auction house had followed suit and sold the jade badge, he didn't say much. Always ask people to drink some soup when you eat meat yourself, so as not to become the target of public criticism. After a while, the auction of the Underworld Alliance Chamber of Commerce officially started. Because the auction was held in the competition space, all the swordsmen participating in the competition sat in the hall without discrimination, and there was no separate private room. Lu Muan was the holder of the silver token, so he was arranged by manager Zhang to sit in the top 3 rows, and the elite swordsmen of the superpower team also sat in the top 10 rows. Ji Xian and Yan Jun happened to be sitting behind her. The two obviously knew each other, and they chatted while sitting together. Lu Muan leaned on the back of the chair lazily, listening to the conversation between the two from time to time, and got some news from it. For example, although the major forces did not send anyone to participate in today's auction, there are many participating sword masters with family missions, and the competition will be very fierce. "Lu Muan, have you made a lot of money this time?" Yan Jundehua's eyes were filled with a smile, and he reached out and patted her shoulder. Lu Muan turned her head, nodded and said with a smile, "I did earn a lot, but no matter how much I earn, I will never forget the 50,000 spirit stones you owe me." Yan Jun's mouth twitched. This woman is really a money fan. "Yan Jun owes you 50,000 spirit stones," Ji Xian asked in surprise. Lu Muan glanced at him, "So what?" "I'm a little curious about how he owes you 50,000 spirit stones." Ji Xuanying Jun's face showed a bit of playfulness. "Is it like the second prince?" "Do you think it's possible?" Yan Jun's face darkened. He was not a waste like the second prince. "Then why do you owe her Lingxi?" Ji Xian asked persistently. "He was caught by a tigress. She cured my illness." Lu Muan was decisively interrupted by Yan Jun before she could finish speaking. Lu Muan smiled in a low voice, and she felt much better when she saw the look on Yan Jun's face. "What tigress?" Ji Xian could see at a glance that Yan Jun's face was not good, and what Lu Muan said was hidden. Lu Muan looked at him sideways, blinked and asked, "Do you want to know?" "Want to know?" Ji Xian nodded. "The message fee of 20,000 spirit stones." Lu Muan looked like a little fox you earned. "You really got into the eyes of money." Ji Xian looked at her with a funny look and didn't ask any more questions. In order to hear Yan Jun's embarrassing things, it was not worth exchanging 20,000 spirit stones. Yan Jun glared at Lu Muan. "You are a woman addicted to robbery." She actually wants to buy Ji Xian the biggest humiliating news in his life. It's abominable. If this kid Ji Xian knew that he was almost overpowered by a monster, he wouldn't have to laugh at him for the rest of his life. "How did you know?" Lu Muan blinked. She just told Ji Xian to retreat, and would not reveal what happened that day. After all, it was very disgraceful to Yan Jun. Yan Jun smiled helplessly. He couldn't talk about this woman with her eloquence. "By the way, you just said that she cured your illness." Ji Xian turned around Yan Jun's arm, raised his eyebrows and asked meaningfully, "Is it true?" Yes, Yan Jun's heart disease has been cured, and there is no more unspoken fear. Ji Xian was slightly surprised. It seemed that he had underestimated Lum Wen before. Suddenly, a melodious and brisk sound of the guqin came from the front, and the auction room that was still buzzing instantly became quiet. After the sound of the piano fell, a stunning young woman with a delicate and beautiful appearance and a delicate figure stepped onto the front stage, causing many men's eyes to follow her constantly. Beauty, Sinan looked at the stage with great interest, saying so, but his eyes were very clear. Lum Wen saw that the woman on the stage was wearing a long rose-red dress. She had a good figure, and her appearance was comparable to that of Muning, but she had a few more mature feminine charms. Not only is she a beauty, she is also a stunner. Lum Wen's eyes were filled with admiration. For some reason, she didn't feel disgusted with this woman, but had a faint liking for it. Several people twitched the corners of their mouths while listening to her comment. It's the first time they've heard women commenting on women's stunners. Helian Li asked with a self-proclaimed smile, "You women would have admired each other before. Why can't we women appreciate each other? The women on the stage are indeed very attractive." Lum Wen rolled his eyes at him. They couldn't deny her words. The woman above was indeed a stunner, but they were more interested than Lum Wen. "Hello everyone, my name is Len Yi, and I'm the auctioneer of the Underworld Alliance Chamber of Commerce Auction." Len Yi's voice was soft, but it didn't make people feel pretentious. "This woman's voice is quite nice," Helian Li said with a smile. Sinan chuckled and asked, "Are the bones all crispy?" Helian Li's face darkened. Yu Guang glanced at Lum Wen, and when she saw that she didn't respond, he glared at Sinan, "Do you think I'm the same color as you? My young master likes beautiful women and it's not shameful. How can you say it's sex?" Sinan shook his fan with a sullen expression. Luo Li frowned and said, "You two are enough, the auction has started." The two turned their heads away and cursed in their hearts, "Luo Li is prudent." Lum Wen knew that they were joking and arguing and ignored it, and turned her attention to the beauty on the stage. "I believe everyone already understands the rules of the auction. I won't say much here." Len Yi flicked a finger, and a beautiful woman in yellow came to the stage with a tray. This is a sword skill of a local rank, acquired by a strong swordsman in a land of inheritance. It is suitable for sword masters with the ice attribute. There are 10 sets of swordsmanship. Each set is very powerful, and there is another sword skill. If you can comprehend the nameless sword realm, your future achievements will definitely be extraordinary. Aside from other things, I believe everyone can know the value of swordsmanship from the place of inheritance." After introducing the sword skills, Len Yi continued, "As the first auction item, our Chamber of Commerce has set its reserve price at 1 low-grade spirit stone, and the auction is now starting." Hearing Len Yi's words, most of the swordsmen below boiled. It turned out to be the inheritance of the land. That senior swordsman is really lucky. Earth-level sword skills are rare, and there are very few sword-level skills among them. I didn't expect this auction to make me wait. Things that come out of the land of inheritance are good things, even if they are yellow-level swordsmanship. Although the base price of this earth-level swordsmanship is only 1 spiritual stone, it is difficult to win without strong capital. Hey! That's right, a copy of this kind of swordsmanship can fetch sky-high prices, and I don't know how many will be photographed today. The discussions below came one after another, all revolving around the place of inheritance and sword skills. Lum Wen was puzzled, looked at Sinan next to him and asked, "Where is the place of inheritance?" Hearing her question, Sinan and the others were completely speechless. This woman is usually so shrewd and capable that she doesn't even know the place of inheritance. Ji Xian always thought that Lum Wen's origin might not be as simple as it seemed, and when he heard her question, he couldn't help but stroked his forehead. He can now be sure that Lum Wen, a cunning woman, really comes from a small country like Yanzhou, otherwise it is impossible not to even know the place of inheritance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 276. Lum Wan had actually read the files in the Royal Library before coming to the competition space, but he hardly mentioned anything about the secrets of the mainland. The Flame Universe might be considered a medium-sized country in the surrounding area, but compared with the participating countries in the competition space, it was like the difference between a rock and a gravel. Just a few sword sovereign-level elders from the superpower can destroy Lum Wan's country, which makes her sense of danger stronger and stronger. To keep Lu's house standing, she must continue to become stronger, and even Lu's house needs to be transformed into an iron wall, so that no one can take advantage of it. The place of inheritance is a very mysterious place. It is opened every 100 years. The 6 major sects and several top forces in the mainland jointly open up a channel for the disciples to enter, as Nan introduced. Lum Wan thought for a while and asked, is it a fixed time every 100 years? Did they open a passage just for the disciples to enter? When Nan and the others listened to her question, a feeling of admiration arose in their hearts unconsciously. She really has an exquisite heart, and she can take the initiative to grasp the key in just a simple introduction. The opening time of the land of inheritance is actually not fixed. It's just that every 100 years there will be a period when the ban outside is the weakest. The 6 major sects and several top forces use that time to open up channels. And it is really helpless to only let the disciples enter, because the inheritance space can only accommodate the sword masters who have cultivated under the sword saints. The space storm strangled or spontaneously spread out, as Nan continued. Lum Wan raised her eyebrows. Didn't the auctioneer just say that the local level sword skill was found by a sword saint powerhouse in the inheritance space? Why can he enter? That was 200 years ago. After the last time the place of inheritance was opened, the strong swordsmen who cultivated were unable to set foot there. It is said that the endurance of that space has reached the limit and is on the verge of collapse. Yan Jun interfaced. If the sword saint powerhouse forcibly enters and fights in the space, it will cause the riot in the space to collapse directly, and the place of inheritance may not be opened again in the future, so the 6 major sects and several top forces dare not take this dangerous, but also reluctant to sacrifice the strong swordsman. What good things are in the inheritance space? Is it a secret realm? Lum Wan was obviously more interested in what was inside. Ji Xian's brow smeared with a smile. The most attractive thing about inheritance is inheritance. It is said that the space began to develop in ancient times. After every high-level swordsman and swordsman-level powerhouse died, as long as their final will condenses the request, they will leave an inheritance hall in the inheritance space, and use a ray of spiritual soul to preserve their life skills or special techniques to pass on to those who are destined. There are also sword saints or sword god level powerhouses who will spontaneously go to the inheritance space to build an inheritance hall when they have no hope of breaking through. There are lifelong exercises and instruments, just to find someone to continue, Luoya added. So that's the case. Lum Wan had a hidden interest in his eyes, and he would have to take a look when he had a chance in the future. While several people were discussing, the auction was also going on hotly, and the price of the local level cultivation technique had already reached 20,000 spirit stones. You don't take pictures? Lum Wan asked how many people in Nan were. If she remembered correctly, Nan and Ji Xian had the elemental law of cultivating the ice attribute. There are some flaws in this local level exercise, and people who know it usually don't shoot it, Nan said in a low voice. Lum Wan looked at him and asked curiously, how did you know? What flaw? This exercise method was auctioned once more than 10 years ago. It was photographed by a genius swordsman at that time, but because the will in the swordsmanship has the disadvantage of swallowing spiritual power, that swordsman could have advanced. The hope of reaching Sword Sovereign was also dashed, Sinan said with a little regret. Looking at the people around you, you will know that there is no sword master in a superpower. Although this is a secret matter, there are many people who know it. After all, things that come from the place of inheritance are rare. It's not that they are not tempted, but they dare not gamble on a sword trick with the future. Lum Wan looked around and found the problem. Her eyes showed a hint of interest, the will of the sword that would devour mental power? Interesting. This swordsman has bid 20,000 spirit stones, is there anyone else who has bid higher? Len Yi scanned the people who sat down and said with a smile, I count to 3, if no one bids, then this book the sword skills belong to this friend. 1, 2. Just when Len Yi was about to call 3, a lazy and clear female voice suddenly sounded. 30,000 spirit stones. Sinan and Ji Xian looked at her as if they didn't know Lum Wan. Are you crazy? Lum Wan, Sinan also said about the flaws of that sword skill, the 3 spirit stones are not worth it. Luo Li didn't expect Lum Wan to follow the bidding even when he knew there was a problem with the sword skill, so he persuaded. Lum Wan has beautiful eyebrows and an unrestrained smile on her face. It's okay, I have a lot of money, if I don't need it, I'll burn. Several people rolled their eyes in their hearts. What is the reason? 40,000. Obviously the previous sword master was also very interested in sword skills. Lum Wan ignored the eyes of several people who wanted to stop her and continued to bid, 50,000. The swordsman's face showed a bit of displeasure, and finally he sighed and stopped bidding. 50,000 had already exceeded his expectations. Lum Wan, you're panicking because you have too much money. You can let us use it for you. You buy this flawed exercise to be careful to lose your wife and break the army. Sinan couldn't help but say something. This woman is really not a normal person, knowing that there are tigers in the mountains, and the tigers go to the mountains. Can't I buy a desk pad? Lum Wan raised her eyebrows, with an expression that an old lady would be willing to buy if she had money and nowhere to spend. Sinan took a breath and turned his head away, otherwise he was afraid that he couldn't help strangling her. Lum Wan is a woman that people love and hate at the same time, and no one can compare her anger. Ji Xian and the others couldn't help twitching the corners of their mouths when they looked at her, looking like I was rich and looking for a lottery. If they didn't have the same knowledge as her, she couldn't look at it with ordinary people's eyes. In the end, Lum Wan took pictures of the local rank sword at the price of 50,000 spirit stones, which made many swordsmen present pay more attention to her. Lum Wan, after you get the sword skill, don't go into it easily. I heard that this sword skill is very evil, and many masters have been rotated. Luo Yan knew that Lum Wan never had no reason to do things. I wouldn't believe her statement that she was burning too much money, but she couldn't help but remind her. With such an excellent talent against the sky, it would be a pity if it really fell into the sword skill. Thank you for reminding me, I know it. Lum Wan responded with a smile. It was because of the flaws in the sword skill that she did it, otherwise she would spend 50,000 spirit stones to shoot a local level sword skill when she was full. Of course, it is naturally impossible for her ideas to be publicized to the outside world. After all, she has never studied the sword skills of that evil sect. She photographed sword skills entirely out of interest and curiosity. You are an unreasonable woman. Luo Li glared at her. Lum Wan smiled, and said very ruthlessly, no way, who told me to have more money? While secretly itching their teeth, several people had to admit that Lum Wan was indeed the one with the most spirit stones among them. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 277. After the first auction item was photographed by Lum Wan, Len Yi continued to auction the second item. The second auction item is a bottle of third-grade medicine pill. Pieces of auction items were auctioned off by Len Yi, Yan Jun, and others all got what they wanted, and even Ye Qinghan and Yun Zimo got a few good magic weapons and spiritual objects respectively. Towards the end, Lum Wan only photographed a few spirit grasses besides the exercise. Lum Wan, don't you take pictures of this defensive magic weapon? Luo Li turned to ask Lum Wan when he heard Len Yi introduce a defensive shield made by a 4th grade artifact refiner. Lum Wan glanced at the shield. The middle grade holy artifact was made from the bones and skins of the 6th order peak monster beasts. The refining technique was relatively skilled, but unfortunately she couldn't take it seriously. Not interested in. Si Nan leaned over and said, you only have the golden sword attacking magic weapon, and you really need a defensive magic weapon. The shield above is the best defensive magic weapon in this auction. You really don't think about it? Can the above shield withstand the full bombardment of the high-level sword sect? Lum Wan asked without answering. If you attack with all your strength, you shouldn't be able to bear it. Si Nan thought for a while and replied. Lum Wan raised her eyebrows, then do I need to buy it? Do you really think I'm a fool who can't spend too much money? She can now fight against the sword masters who have been cultivated by Jianzhong, and this shield is useless to her. The corner of Si Nan's mouth twitched. He couldn't resist the full-strength bombardment of the high-level sword sect, but he could resist the attack of the junior-level sword sect. Still useful in combat. But remembering Lum Wan's powerful and changing combat power, he instantly silenced his voice. Ji Xian and others felt speechless after hearing her words. Compared with this shield, the local level sword skill was obviously more practical. She really is not a fool, she is a lunatic. When the auction came to an end, Len Yi smiled softly and said, all the items prepared for this auction have been auctioned. Now the last finale is auctioned, I believe everyone will not be disappointed. Miss Len, don't give up, let's take a look at the finale, a swordsman below shouted impatiently. After he finished speaking, the others complied. The finale of each auction of the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce is a very rare and valuable item in Tianling continent, and it has naturally become a sought-after item. Of course, the price must be ridiculously high. Since everyone is so impatient, then I won't sell it. Len Yi smiled and clapped his hands. A man in a white robe walked up to the stage, and with the palm of his hand, a black boat the size of a slap appeared. It turned out to be a flying instrument, someone in the audience exclaimed. The eyes of the others were also very fiery at the boat in the man's hand. This is a flying instrument that Master Wu, a 5th grade weapon refiner, spent 10 years refining, Sumi Qingzhou. Master Wu, it turned out to be a magic weapon refined by Master Wu. Yes. Master Wu became famous in Tianling continent for more than 200 years, and he has not auctioned a magic weapon for decades, but this time we encountered it. Seeing that the people below were all excited, Len Yike continued to speak slowly. Sumi Qingzhou has the speed of a 7th order flying monster, and has a defensive function, comparable to a top-grade defensive holy weapon. And one of the most important features of Sumi's light boat is that it can change its size freely. The smallest form is only the size of a palm. The sword master can also shrink to this limit when sitting on it. It is an excellent choice for exploring secret realms or going out without attracting attention from others. Only a palm-sized flying instrument has a small target and has the defense function of a high-grade holy artifact. Such a magic instrument has not appeared in hundreds of years, and everyone must seize this opportunity. Len Yi's words sounded very real, but they were very provocative and hidden, and many people below were moved. Miss Len, how many people can the Sumi light boat carry? Asked a swordsman from a big country below. It can carry up to 3,000 people. Len Yi calculated that someone would ask questions below, so he didn't introduce them all at the beginning, so that the questions and answers would be more engaging. So many people can be seated, and if there is any emergency in the family, it can be used to escape. A swordsman behind him muttered. His words were also in the minds of other sword masters. The flight speed of the 7th order flying monsters was faster than that of the human sword master Yu Jian, who was a sword master. If the family encounters any major disaster, Using this defensive light boat to escape is also a trump card. Lu Muan's mental power stretched forward, swept and swept on Sumi's light boat, and then an arc was raised on his lips. This flying defense artifact is indeed a fine product. If you find several rare crystals in the world and re-refine it, the grade can be improved. Defensive flying instruments are more practical than flying monsters. After all, they carry a lot of people, so it is not bad to take them for Lu family as an escape card. She touched her chin and thought about it, and then she could refine a few puppet organs and place them on the light boat. After attacking, defending, and flying together, I believe that even if the Lu family is attacked by a swordsman-level powerhouse, they can transfer the family members to escape safely. Miss Len, can you use the Sumi light boat in battle? Another one of them asked. Many flying instruments are good and easy to use, but they cannot be stimulated once in battle, and because they are expensive, many swordsmen prefer to choose flying spiritual pets. Sumi's light boat can also be used 100% in battle. You can rest assured that you can try it after you take it. Len Yi's stunning and glamorous face has a firm look. If it can't be stimulated, the Chamber of Commerce will not only refund the full amount, but also double the compensation. Hearing her promise, many people couldn't help but take a breath, so that the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce could make such a promise to prove that Sumi Qingzhou is absolutely as Len Yi said, otherwise, whoever is stupid will pay double. It has a large load capacity, can change its size, and has the attributes of a high-grade defensive sacred artifact. It is worthy of being the finale of the auction. Those who are present with such a flying artifact are not unmoved. Miss Len, take the liberty to ask, since the Sumi Qingzhou is so good, why would it be auctioned in the competition space? A superpower swordsman asked rationally. If such a thing is taken out of the competition space to auction, it is definitely an item that countries or major families are vying to snatch. The elite disciples of their families participating in the competition simply cannot compare with the financial resources of the entire family. Even if you come with a family mission, the spiritual stones you bring are limited. The question he asked is also the doubts in the hearts of many people. Could it be that the Sumi Qingzhou is also a big drawback? Good question from this friend. Len Yiying smiled, youthful, this is what I'm about to say. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 278. Everyone present calmed down and looked at Len Yi on the stage, waiting for her answer. Len Yiying smiled and said, Senior Wu participated in the Tianling Continent Hegemony competition 200 years ago. Although he didn't rush into the top 100 at that time, he got a chance in the competition space to become an artifact refiner, and he was also there. That contest met his beloved wife. This time he spent 10 years refining the Sumi Qingzhou to commemorate the opportunity that year, and to auction the boat to encourage everyone. Len Yi continued, of course, Master Sumi King's Hua can refine one and the second, so you don't have to worry too much. Len Yi's meaning is obvious. Master Wu made the first Sumi Qingzhou to commemorate the opportunity of the year, and his 10 years of hard work have not been in vain. I believe that when he makes the second flying instrument again, it will be more handy. It turns out that, I heard that Master Wu met the talented female cultivator in the competition space, and there was a good story. It seems that the chance that Master Wu encountered in the competition space was not small, otherwise it would not be possible to become the current 5th grade artifact refiner. Many people seem to have been beaten by chicken blood. Master Wu can meet the opportunity to turn him from an inconspicuous person from a small and medium-sized country to a 5th grade artifact refiner who is now famous in the mainland. They may also encounter a big opportunity here. In this way, the sword masters we participated in this time have been exposed. I heard that Master's hobbies are very strange, and Master Wu can understand that he wants to commemorate that chance. Lu Muan saw that Len Yi's frank expression didn't seem to be false, but she always felt that the reason for the master's auction was a bit far-fetched. If that's the case, then the cold girl, let's auction it quickly. The people below believed in this reason, and shouted excitedly for Lenyi to quickly auction. Everyone is so impatient, I won't say more, Lenyi said with a smile. The low price of the Sumi light boat is 20,000 spirit stones, and the price must not be lower than 1,000 spirit stones each time, and the auction will start now. 25,000 spirit stones. As soon as she finished speaking, someone began to bid. 30,000 spirit stones. 50,000 spirit stones. Soon the price was called to 100,000 spirit stones. It seems that the elite disciples of these big countries are all prepared and rich. 120,000 Logo. Yes, clear voice came out slowly. Yanjun also wanted to take a picture, but unfortunately he didn't have enough spirit stones, so he had to give up. Although Ji Xian was valued in the empire, he was always suppressed by Ji Yu's mother and son. The resources he got when he came were limited in spirit stones, and he didn't have any hope for Sumi Qingzhou. Ji Yu was swallowed by the evil dragon, and the space ring was also swallowed by him. Everyone thought that the ring was still in the belly of the evil dragon. No one knew that Mo Yan had swallowed the spirit of the evil dragon, and the ring had already landed on Lum Weian hands. Therefore, Lum Weian was actually very rich at this time. 130,000 Si Nan shouted arrogantly. Although Helian Li's empire was not as good as the two of them, he came with the resources of the royal family and had thoughts on Sumi Qingzhou. 140,000. 160,000 An elite disciple of the superpower shouted. 180,000 Logo Ye continued to follow. 200,000 Helian Li gritted his teeth. Si Nan narrowed his eyes and reported the bottom line in his heart, 220,000. 230,000 Logo Ye continued. 25,000. The man was obviously very confident. 260,000 Logo Ye has not yet reached the bottom price. The man snorted coldly and shouted, 300,000. The 300,000 yuan has already exceeded Logo Ye's reserve price, and the imperial resources he brought are exactly this number. Although he had long guessed that the Sumi Qingzhou would not be so easy to obtain, he did not expect it to be so high. Of course, if this flying instrument is auctioned outside, the price will definitely not be lower than 500,000 low-grade spirit stones. The price of 300,000 made many sword masters in an uproar, which was a lot of money. Everyone thought that the person who made the final bid would definitely take the shot, and even the swordsman thought so, waiting for Lenyi to announce the result, but who knew he heard a lazy and sweet voice. 300,000. Everyone followed the voice to find that the person who made the bid was a stunning purple-clothed woman, and many people recognized that she was the one who auctioned the identity jade card before. I'm afraid this woman made a lot of money from auctioning her identity jade before, someone muttered sourly. There are also people who are more afraid of Lum Weian. She can use the venue of the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce to hold a small auction. It is estimated that she has an extraordinary origin, so it is better to provoke less. When I'm looking for the prince of the country in the south, Sumi's light boat is very important to me, and I also want to give in 1 or 2 to Miss Wanglu. There was a haze in the eyes of the man who asked for the price before. His words made Logo Li and the others frown. Is this trying to threaten Lum Weian? Sorry, I also like the Sumi Qingzhou. The one with the highest price will get it. You can bid as you please. If it can be higher than me, this flying instrument will naturally belong to you. Lum Weian hooked her lips and said what she said. Arrogant and wanton. Use Nangsanqiu to oppress her? What the hell? The face of the prince of Nansanqiu turned black. This woman was too ignorant of praise. How dare a person from a small country dare to be so arrogant? What about a dark horse? Not just because he knew Logo Li and Si Nan to fight him. He didn't believe that if he really wanted to meet him, Logo Li, Sinan and others would have a bad relationship with him because of Lum Wan. 330,000 he scolded Lum Wan in his heart. Who knew that something that could have been won by 300,000 would have an accident, and it would be unhappy for anyone else. It's just that he completely forgot that this is an auction, and the one with the highest price must be the truth. Lum Wan glanced at him casually, and shouted calmly, 350,000. Miss Lu, are you sure you want to spend so much money to buy a flying instrument? The Prince of Nangsun Kingdom added a bit of murderous intent and even more threats. Lum Wan hated people who used her family background to oppress her the most in her life. Her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, and she said lazily, I just want to find a place to spend more money. What can you do to me? Her answer made everyone present twitch their lips, and she felt that she was arrogant and irritating. The Prince of Nangsun Kingdom almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. He only had 360,000 spirit stones in his hand, and they all gathered together with his teammates. This woman is too presumptuous. 360,000. Calling out the reserve price in his heart, he looked at Lum Wan with cold eyes and a deep threat. Lum Wan smiled sweetly, beautiful and moving. She blinked at the Prince of Nangsun Kingdom and said, 360,100 spirit stones. You. Prince Nan Sun Kuo couldn't help but stood up and pointed at her, but he didn't know how to scold her. This woman must have done it on purpose. How did she know that he only had 360,000 spirit stones on him? Hey! Although I have a lot of money, I can't waste it. Lum Wan laughed in a low voice, raised his eyes to look at the Prince of Nangsun Kingdom and said with a smile, Your Highness, you can ignore me and continue to bid. The old lady is going to vomit you to death, and everyone who dares to threaten her will go to hell. As long as she wants to take pictures of the Sumi light boat, the Prince of Nangsun Kingdom will definitely hold grudges. Since she wants to have revenge, it is also called to be angry with the other party. The killing intent in the other's eyes was not concealed at all, and the more she did, the more she had to strike at the other's sore spot. Moreover, this flying instrument is a way of escape for Lu's family, and she naturally doesn't want to let it. Want to buy a Sumuru canoe? She also grabbed it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 279. The Prince of Nangsun Kingdom was so choked by Lum Wan that he was speechless and vomited to death. He took a deep breath and sat back to his seat, afraid that he could not help strangling that smiling woman to death. His Royal Highness, continue. Lum Wan saw the other party's gloomy face, and smiled even more cheerfully, with an unfinished look on his face. Seeing this, other people couldn't bear to look directly. Why do they feel that this stunning woman is so rude? The anger that the Prince of Nangsun country had just suppressed soared again, and he snorted coldly with a dark face, I'll let you. You don't have to let me. Lum Wan blinked innocently. Prince Nangsun glared at her fiercely, then turned to Len Yi on the stage and said, Miss Len, let's continue the auction. He wants to follow too. It's a pity that he was pressed down by Lum Wan. If there were still crystals, he would have smashed them out to blind Lum Wan's eyes. Len Yuruo glanced at Prince Nangsun meaningfully, with a consistent smile on her beautiful face, a little smile in her eyes. That woman named Lum Wan was really interesting. Now this young lady has bid 361,000 spirit stones. Is there anyone who is higher? After waiting for a while, no one asked the price anymore. Len Yi said with a smile, I count to 3, if no one follows the price, Sumi Qingzhou will belong to this lady. 3, 2, 1, congratulations to this young lady for winning the finale of the Underworld Alliance Chamber of Commerce auction. Len Yi said a few more emotional words and ended the auction. When he left, he looked at Lum Wan with interest. Lum Wan's eyes met hers for a few breaths, and an arc was raised on her lips. After the show, Prince Nan Sunkyo walked in front of Lum Wan with a sinister smile on his face. Lum Wan, I hope you can survive to the finals. Lum Wan raised her eyebrows and smiled. You once told me that, but this lady is still alive and well, but he has already reported to the Palace of Hell. You wait for me. Prince Nangsun naturally knew that Gu led people to surround and kill Lum Wan and was attacked by the talisman. That person's death was indeed inseparable from this woman. Lum Wan showed an idiot-looking expression. I will accompany you to the end. There are countless people who want her to die, and there are also many people who make her wait. In the end, she still lives well, but those who speak harshly go to hell, so she never speaks harshly to anyone. She is an activist. After Prince Nangsun left, Lum Wan and his party went to the Mingmeng Chamber of Commerce to exchange auction items. Lum Wan was taken to a special private room and received personally by Manager Zhang. Miss Lu, here are a few items you photographed today, you can count them. Manager Zhang pushed a few boxes in front of Lum Wan and said. Lum Wan checked it again, and when there was no problem, handed the prepared spirit stone to Manager Zhang. I'll trouble Manager Zhang today. Miss Lu is very polite. It's an honor to serve the lady. After being polite with Lum Wan, Manager Zhang suddenly said to Lum Wan, Miss Lu, Master Wu once explained that the person who took the photo of Sumi Qingzhou should shed blood as soon as possible to recognize the master. Why? Lum Wan asked in surprise. According to him, this flying instrument has just been refined, and there will be unexpected gains within a month of recognizing the master by dripping blood, so Miss Lu might as well give it a try, Manager Zhang said with a smile. Lum Wan's eyes darkened, with a look of joy on his face. Thank you for reminding me, I'll try it when I get back to the inn. Then Zhang is here to wish Miss Lu good luck. After Lum Wan said goodbye to Guanzhang, he went out with Ye Qinghan and others out of the Underworld Alliance Chamber of Commerce. As soon as she walked out of the door, she saw Luo Li and several people waiting for her. Lum Wan, what are your plans recently? Luo Li stepped forward and smiled handsomely. Lum Wan smiled warmly. We are going to stay in the central city and wait for the finals. It's a good choice, and we're not going to go out anymore. Come over when you have time, let's have a drink, Luo Li invited. Lum Wan nodded, okay. Si Nan and the others had something to do, greeted her and went their separate ways. After returning to the inn, Lum Wan was not in a hurry to confess her master. She took out the evil sword skills and flying instruments. When his eyes turned to the flying instrument, his dark pupils became more and more intense. She picked up the magic weapon and looked at it, and stopped for a while in a place where the complicated patterns were carved on the hull, and a sneer appeared on her lips. This flying instrument can be regarded as a fine product among the top-grade holy artifacts. It is basically flawless, but as she expected, there is a problem. At the same time, sitting in a secret basement in the central city was a pale man who looked around 30 years old. In front of him was a mirror made of a spar, the same material as the crystal wall used by the 6 major factions to monitor the competition space. The situation of the auction was played in the mirror, and the image in the mirror disappeared until Lum Wan returned to the inn. The reflection array set up in the competition space cannot map the image of the residential area of the central city, which is also to ensure the privacy of the swordsman. The man with a pale face and a coquettish red lips stood up and walked to the ice bed made of ice behind him. Lying on the ice bed was a beautiful woman in white. Her face was paler and bloodless than the man's, and her breath was like a dead person. If other people at the auction were here, they would be a little surprised, because the woman lying on the ice bed looked a bit similar to Lum Wan. Ling Qiu, I've finally found someone who has a blood relationship with you and a soul that matches your soul. The man reached out and stroked the woman's face with gentle eyes. As long as you devour her soul and refine it, we will be able to reunite again. He held the woman's cold hand and put it on his lips, closed his eyes, frowned after a while and said to himself, why hasn't she confessed to the Lord after so long? If the average swordsman heard him tell the Underworld Union Chamber of Commerce to explain, he would have been waiting for a long time to admit his master, but that little girl would be calm. He sighed and continued to talk to the sleeping woman, you have been sleeping for 100 years, and who knows my loneliness, no matter what means I use, I must wake you up. It would be a little troublesome if the girl named Lum Wen recognized the flying instrument he made without dropping blood. He foresighted that the person who would photograph the flying instrument was a junior who had a relationship with his beloved wife, and he was also the person he was looking for. I thought that a soul-refining formation hidden in that flying instrument would be able to directly arrest the soul of the younger generation, but I didn't expect that she has not yet shed blood to recognize the master. There was a haze and determination in his eyes. If Lum Wen had not yet confessed to the master in the finals, he could only quietly break the rules of the competition space and go to catch her in person. Fortunately, he is currently one of the judges representing the refining pavilion in this competition, otherwise it would be more difficult to act. I just hope that Lum Wen will consciously drop blood and recognize the master as soon as possible to save him from risking his shot. Lum Wen, who he was hoping to fall into his own trap, didn't pay attention to the flying instruments at all at this time, but put all his energy on the ground-level sword skills known as the evil section. My evil Imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 280. Lum Wen took the ground-level sword skill in his hand and looked at it over and over, then pondered. Master, this book gives me a bad feeling. Bingji pondered in his eyes, looking at the sword skill badly. Lum Wen raised her eyes, what's the bad feeling? After a few more glances at the sword skill, I feel extremely cold, like a poisonous snake waiting for an opportunity to bite my neck. Bingji shrank his neck. Lum Wen frowned slightly and took Meow Meow from her wrist. Meow Meow, do you feel this way? Master, although I don't feel this way, this book gives me a cold and evil feeling. I don't like it. Meow Meow resolutely wrapped around Lum Wen's wrist again, staying far away from the book. Master, I also hate the breath in this book. Shwe Shwe said. Lum Wen penetrated her mental power into the spirit beast ring and found that Mo Yan was still sleeping. The words in the sword skills are not the common language of the mainland, but a kind of silver scorpion, which she has learned in the world of cultivating immortals. Putting her mind into the words in the book and interpreting it a little bit, she gradually became fascinated. Time flies so fast, and the day goes by in a blink of an eye. Suddenly, a faint black air came out of the book in Lum Wen's hand and penetrated into her breath. Slowly, Lum Wen's eyes were half closed, as if he was about to fall asleep. And her eyes began to slack, as if she was being controlled by something. Bingji was shocked when he saw this, and hurriedly shouted, Master, Master. Meow Meow and Swexu pulled Lum Wen's arm at the same time and called Master together to awaken her consciousness. But no matter what method they tried, they couldn't make Lum Wen sober. Bingji's eyes were ruthless, and he stretched out his claws and wanted to grab the sword skill in Lum Wen's hand and threw it away. It must be the sword skill of this evil sect that made the master lose his mind. It's just that before his claws touched the sword skill, he was entangled in a wisp of black air that suddenly emerged from the book, and he couldn't get rid of it. The three monsters couldn't cut the black chi with their demon power, and they couldn't help but feel anxious. Then, the wisps of black air continued to climb along Lum Wen's hand. When she was about to drill in from her temple, Lum Wen, who had been sluggish, suddenly opened her eyes with sharp eyes. She recited a few spells in her mouth, and with a little tap, a jade-colored talisman instantly bound the black chi. Then she turned the palm of her hand, and a cluster of purple gold flames came out. She snorted softly, go. Zijin Linghuo turned into a small fire snake and got into the sword skill, and the whole book was shrouded in black after a while. Lum Wen stretched out her hand, and the black chi that bound Bingji's feet was torn apart and disappeared. "Master, are you all right?" Bingji looked at the sword skills that had been enveloped by the thick black mist with lingering fears. "What is this?" Lum Wen shook his head. "I'm fine, you'll know what it is in a while." There was a hint of coldness on her lips, and she kept hitting the seals into the sword skills. After doing everything, she closed her eyes and started to rest. After about a quarter of an hour, she opened her eyes and said to the book, "How does it feel to be roasted in the soul? Isn't the real body looming now?" As soon as her voice fell, a black mist emerged from the book, and then turned into a black figure whose face could not be seen clearly. "Have you discovered me long ago?" The man's voice was very hoarse and concealed the suppressed pain of being burned by the fire of spirit. Lum Wen stretched out a hand and shoved it lazily. "I only discovered you when you performed the ecstasy spell on me." Of course, although she didn't feel the cold evil energy like the three spirit pets did, she could smell a faint bloody smell from the pages of sword skills. So she put her mental power on the page and started to check the content of the sword skills. What surprised her was that although the sword skills were only at the ground level, the 10 sets of sword skills in it really surprised her. I was fascinated by watching it, but because of the initial vigilance, I also released part of my mental power for surveillance. Sure enough, when she was addicted, a powerful foreign aura suddenly burst out and cast an advanced ecstasy technique on her. If it wasn't for her mental strength had recovered and advanced, she would have really capsized in the gutter this time. "Hi," the man took a deep breath as the Zijin spirit fire burned. "What do you want?" He never imagined that a small sword emperor would not only discover his existence, but also have such a powerful spiritual force to resist his ecstasy, and also have a purple gold spirit fire that restrains all evil things. "If I guessed correctly, you just wanted to eat my soul, right?" Lum Wen's voice was cool. "The soul of a person is the soul and spiritual power. Once it is eaten by the opponent, it will become an idiot. At light, it is like the former master of swordsmanship said by Si Nan and others. The cultivation base is stagnant and the road to the strong mist." The man's actions really stepped on Lum Wen's bottom line. Since you can see that the seed has nothing to say, the man's voice was full of unwillingness and despair. "Humph, if you have nothing to say, just die." Lum Wen's eyes turned cold, and Zijin Linghuo instantly burst out of the page and rapped the man. Ah, the man didn't expect the woman on the opposite side to be so ruthless, and the whole body was burned by the spirit fire as if it was about to melt. If this continued, he would not even have the chance to reincarnate. "Stop, stop," the man said with a bit of pain. "I will make a deal with you to ensure that not only will you not suffer, but you will also gain a lot." Lum Wen squinted and thought for a while before beckoning to take back the Zijin Linghuo. "Don't play any tricks, or I can kill you at any time. This man has only 1/10 of the ghost spirit left and still has such a powerful aura. In addition, he calls himself the Seed, and his origin must be extraordinary. If it weren't for Zijin Linghuo, she couldn't do anything about him, and maybe it would be backlashed." "Heh, what kind of tricks can I play when the Seed is like this?" the man laughed at himself. "Are you a magician?" Lum Wen's tone was affirmative. The man was stunned for a moment. Obviously he didn't expect Lum Wen to see through his identity before his physical body was destroyed, but there was nothing to hide. "Yes. Tell me, what do you want to make a deal with me?" She found that many people she met liked to make deals with her, but she was a little interested in hearing about it. As soon as the man moved, the black mist surrounding the sword skill all penetrated into his body, and strands of black energy quickly repaired his weakened soul that had been scorched before. Lum Wen squinted his eyes. The breath of this ghost and demon cultivator is not weaker than the peak of the sword sect at this time. When his body is not damaged, he is probably so powerful that countless high-level sword masters look up to it. Bar. You must know the place of inheritance. The man's soul was automatically repaired before he spoke slowly. Lum Wen's eyes narrowed. The transaction you want to discuss with me is about the place of inheritance.